Okay, so my friend David Ziegler, this is the second board that he sent for me to take a look at, and just set it up here on the bench, and let's connect it up and see what we have. Now immediately I do see a problem. Not really obvious, but right here, the 4700 microfarad capacitor, it's got a big dent in the middle. So this clearly has taken a hit. Fortunately, I have one left. I actually had hoped I had two because I wanted to replace the one on his first board, but this one's going to take priority because it's we'll put a nice Nishikon on there because that one is. I might even stand back when I power this up because we might. If anyone has seen a capacitor explode before, it's kind of like the fireworks. So let's plug her in and see what we have. The only thing I've done so far, and there was a little bit of dirt on the board, so I cleaned things up. I sprayed some stuff down. Actually, there's a little spot in there that we probably should do as well. So let's just do that. Make sure there's nothing shorting out anything else in there. Use an ESD brush here. Okay. This also, like the other board, has the famous exposed joystick port, which is about 1 millimeter. And this one's actually a lot worse than the other one. This is about 1 millimeter away from shorting out against this shield. And as we know, this shield rotates back and forth. So one of the things I like to do, in fact, I think I will do that right now, is before even plugging it in, is this has a back shield, right? Yeah. Let's take the back shield. Oh, that came right off. That was nice. And not really soldered. Okay. Or maybe David has taken these out before. Yeah, you can tell that this has been out before. Okay, so let's take the metal and plastic shield out here a little bit and store that for later. And let's take a look underneath. Okay, so it's got an aftermarket capacitor there. Now this is, well, I don't know, maybe this is a factory thing, but boy, I don't know if you guys can tell that. I'm going to bring this up closer to the camera, and hopefully it'll focus in. Hopefully. I don't know if you can tell, but one of the legs of that capacitor somebody forgot to trim off, and it's almost touching the other pad. In fact, let's take a look at that. I think it is actually touching the other pad. Be funny if that was the only issue. No, we couldn't get lucky twice. Okay, so somewhere in here are my glasses. Let me pause for a second while I find my glasses here. Okay. Oh yeah. That is touching. Okay. So it's time to trim that leg. Amazing. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, clearly that wasn't supposed to be there. If it is a factory thing, it left the factory in a hurry. And it does kind of look factory-ish in terms of, the kind of flux that's on there. Or at least it was done quite a long time ago. Because it is quite hardened and crystallized. Very much looks like some other spots. Okay, so that famous capacitor now is not shorting out because it was actually touching here underneath in the video circuitry another contact, and it was not touching ground. So it looks like so that probably could have been a problem. We'll find out. But really, what I was in here to do is, normally what I like to do is right here, give a tweak to the and tighten the metal guard. And I'm going to go ahead and do that in hopes I don't have to take it off. I might actually have to take it off if something is wrong with the board, but at least now, okay, so that's pretty sturdy. Another trick I like to do, and might as well do it now, is take some, basically take some tape, some heatsink tape, and while this does make it look a little less factory, better to do that and have the precaution against the joystick port shorting out. So this tape has some nice stickiness to it, designed for heat sinks. And so basically I just make a little shroud with that on the joystick so those connections don't short out. I also, and I've done this on my machines, and you know, it is a kind of an obvious thing, so some people may not like it, but just to keep this guy from rotating around, I put a little square there as well underneath. And where's my handy plastic tool, aka McDonald's coffee stirrer. Actually, it's Dunkin' Donuts. Much better coffee. But anyway. Can't afford Starbucks, so it's got to be Dunkin' Donuts. So I'll do that, and now there's really no danger of our grill, our backyard grill here, rotating and shorting out the joystick port. So that's sort of a precaution thing. Doing another more of the visual inspection. Don't think this is an issue, but I do see that the line filter has kind of been keeled over here, and one of the legs of the line filter is awfully close to one of the other legs, and that can't be a good thing. And so that now is straightened out and better. You know, these things just kind of happen. Okay, so we have a capacitor here that's kind of not shorted, but it's flat against the board. And I think that was okay. But so this guy we're definitely going to have to replace. But in the meantime, shall we take a little risk and see what happens if we plug this guy in, and let's see where we're at. Let's see if that little capacitor there did anything. That was underneath the board. It is in the video section, so that it was kind of in a critical place. Oh, okay, so this is typical for the early VIC20. You need Tarzan to help here move the on-off switch. So this is right away pretty much what I like to do. Okay. And now, while it's not connected to power, I like to exercise that switch a little bit and see if it frees up a tiny bit. See if this stuff works its way in there. Now some folks actually take these apart and rebuild them, which I think is a great idea. I've never really done that yet, but I have not found the C64 switches and also the the later VIC20, the CR switches are pretty easy to find, but I haven't really found a source for these. If someone does have a source for these, maybe they can post it in the comments. It'd be really appreciated, because I do have a couple VIC20s that have these kind of lazy switches. Okay, so that's working a little bit better. Okay, otherwise, let's see what else we have. Do we have MT RAM? No, thankfully not. Okay, good. So the 2114 is the SRAM. It's TMM. Is that Toshiba? Not sure. Okay. Everything else. Normally I would also deoxid all the socketed chips, but let's take a look and see what we have. Let's see if we get lucky and get an image of some sort. Okay, so there we go. Well, that's okay. Okay. So we have a little bit of a psychedelic. Oh, well, we had the blue. We actually had the blue Vic, and now we have the psychedelic Vic. So this one's left over from the 70s instead of the 80s, right? Okay. But we have video, so that's actually a pretty good thing. I think at this point, I really distrust that capacitor. And that's coming out. But let me just do one more thing, just for completeness while I'm here. It didn't blow up, which was actually a good thing. But these little heat shrouds on the video section is something, and this one seems to be really in there. Okay. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Normally I can start this end back here using the cartridge cover as a little bit of leverage, and then work our way around. Okay, so this one's going to require both hands, so I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so just like in the cooking shows where everything is half prepared off camera, I've gone ahead and loosened this guy up, and now it's loose. Okay, a little dusty in there. Let's see what we have. 6560 101 from 82. Okay, so this one's a little later than the other one. Don't see anything obviously wrong in there. But at this point, I think it'd be prudent to pull that out, since we know we have some video anomalies. Okay. That came out nice, actually. And let's not forget the wrist strap, or ESD protection. Okay. Okay, so the legs on this IC look perfect. Compared to the other one, it looks absolutely perfect. Week 32 of 82. Okay, so towards the second part of 1982. Okay. Okay, that looks okay in there. This has a Mitsubishi equivalent of the 7402, which is the M53202P, which I also found in my CR the other day. I wasn't aware of that chip. I'd only seen 7402s before that. At this point, we're going to do a little deoxid here also on the VIC socket. Okay. And while we're at it, we're going to do the CPU. Okay. I know that probably sounds terrible on camera, but it's a great chip puller. Really love that chip puller. I forgot where I saw that first, on whose video. I think might have been Jan Beta. And if so, thank you. But it's a great chip puller. Okay. And might as well do the socketed ROMs. Okay, so this ROM is coming out a little more careful on that one. They like to stick the legs, but actually it's fine. So that I see is fine. And let's try the other one. And I'm also going to help this one out gingerly here. Sometimes on these smaller ICs it's hard to get a good grip, but there we go. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, legs are good. Same routine here. Let some of this stuff soak in. I find this is like the miracle juice of so many things come to life when you just take the oxidation out of these ICs. And of course we have the 6522s still left. But at this point, we can go ahead and put the ROMs back in. Nice snapping sound there. Okay. Let's go over to the CPU. 6502A. Everything lined up. Nice. I like it when they pop like that. Okay, interesting. Interesting. This one we're going to have to be a little careful with. Really feels kind of oxidized in there. Yeah, in fact, one leg is a little bent, tiny bit. But the legs are in good shape. I don't believe these have ever been off. So I don't really see any corrosion on any of the legs. That's a good thing. Okay. Okie doke. And there we go. Okay. might as well do these guys. And then after that, we'll see what the video looks like. And also, one thing I find with these Jonard chip pullers, and as they get a little older, they tend to, the teeth tend to spread apart a little bit, and then they tend to pull the chips out not straight, which is not an optimal thing. Okay, there we go. Alright, so looking at this again, IC's in good shape, legs are in good shape. Okay, very good. 6522s look okay. Socket looks okay. Yeah, there's some little extra insect legs in there. Let's get rid of that. All right. Okay. Looks good. Looks better. Everybody went in correctly. Okay. Good. Now the only one left is the VIC chip. Okay. All right. So at this point, let's see if we've made things worse or better. You never know. And we still have #1 candidate to be taken out. Okay, so clearly that wasn't the issue. You probably saw a few red flashes in there. Okay. Just out of curiosity, what would happen if we took out that capacitor? So I'm going to go ahead. I might fast forward through that and have to heat up the desoldering gun here. Okay, so there it goes. Yeah, this one's going to require a lot of alcohol to clean it up. Now to desolder these two guys right here, I actually like to use a different solder, flux rather, than what I normally use to solder. And this one is kind of more sticky, more rosin, and it seems to do a better job at staying on the terminals that you need to remove. This stuff is Custer 1544. And I used this for soldering for a while too, but it tends to really make a lot of smoke, and I'm actually a little sensitive, my skin is to that stuff, so I've gone more for soldering to the 959T, which I think is a little bit more, it still has rosin, but it's more alcohol based. So this one I find is a little, and it makes nice shiny joints too, which is kind of nice. Okay. Now, sometimes these guys are fun to take out, so we'll see. We'll see how much fun it is. Well, that was pretty easy. Well, other than the dent, it doesn't really look all that bad. Surprisingly. Just take a little bit of the extra old solder off. Okay. So I think we should be able to, at this point, put the new one in, but before I do that, gives us the opportunity to clean that up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but this has been involved in a collision right there. See if I can get the, yeah. So just for fun, I'm gonna get the meter and let's see if it's any good. Let's find out what it actually registers. $48.67. Wow. ESR 0.09 ohms. That, I think that's actually pretty good. So, in the bin. Sorry, no sound effects. While we're here, okay, so we're back here to do the capacitor. Okay, after much wrangling with this one, did not want to go in, but we're going to clean up the old. There's a lot of old flux on here. And so I'm going to clean all that flux out of there. And then we're going to resolder it. This calls for the big brush on this one. There's actually a little dent on the board there. Hopefully nothing is shorted out underneath. Okay. Don't think I did that. Okay, so now Okie doke. And there's a lot of flux over here where this capacitor was. The one that had the untrimmed lead. Might as well clean that up as well while we're here. Yep, and that lead right there. Okay. Much cleaner. Okay. Let's make sure that the leads don't short out. We'll add a little arch to it. There we go. And if that doesn't resolve it, that capacitor may be gone at some point. If that doesn't resolve the video. Okay. So now we're going to use a little bit of the other solder, other flux I should say. And let's make a nice connection on this capacitor. Very nice. Okay. Okay, so for the sake of time, the capacitor has been changed and cleaned up that area in there. Also cleaned up the flux underneath that other little cap that's under the video section. Tried booting it a couple times and still getting a little bit of intermittent video breakup now and then, especially in the border there. So at this point, I'm suspecting there may be all other bad caps that need to be replaced, but possibly the VIC's going bad, or there could be a inconsistent voltage situation going on here too. I know the power supply is fine, so, but you know, voltage regulator, something along those lines. So we still have quite a few things to debug here. It probably would be a good idea to just do a full recap on this anyway. So that probably will be the next step. But let's try the harness and see what the harness tells us, if anything. So we'll do some RAM tests here and then test the ports. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of a clue as to what's going on. If you look carefully, you can see the tearing of the image along the border, kind of going down the raster. Possibly a bad VIC, but not so sure about that. I might bring this VIC into another board and take a look at it that way and see what it tells us. I think what I'll do is take this VIC and put it in a good board and see if it does the same thing. And I think we're going to try it that way first. Okay, so I've just placed the VIC into a good board, a board that I had just previously fixed, and taken the its VIC out. So let's see what we have. Okay, I'm starting to see some breakup of the video and the border right there. And that's actually without the harness. Interesting. Yes, and there's our flash. Okay, so it's clear that the VIC is the issue. That's kind of sad because these guys are, there's no replacement for these guys, unfortunately. But just to complete the experiment, now that we trust possibly the other board a little bit more, since it did pass all diagnostics except for the flashing. So let's go ahead and put the VIC in the good VIC in the board. Just looking for my wrist strap here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the VIC, the known good VIC. Right here. And if our theory is correct, the problem should be solved, and this should pass with flying colors in a perfect world. So we shall see. Okay, rig for smoke, and off we go. I'm just being careful here. I'm going to immediately stop if I see any anomaly because I don't like putting a good VIC into an unknown board. But so far, I don't see any video breakup. Okay. Okay, and it's about the same volume on the sound test, so that part of it was actually okay on the other VIC. But clearly the other VIC has a stability issue, unfortunately, as we can tell. So, David, you got another good board. Unfortunately, we gotta dig up a VIC, and it turned out that I did measure carefully the ESR on the cap, and the dented cap was actually fine. It's a Nishikon, and it may be, I don't know how many years old it was, or possibly it was replaced at one time, and I don't know how it got dented, but it's fine. But you know, it's still been binned. Just don't trust it when it's gone through that kind of trauma, poor thing. So yeah, this is doing a couple passes, and it looks terrific actually. And this VIC actually looks very nice. Good video. And we have another happy camper. Just need to clean this one up, and off we go. So here's VIC number 2 right here, and here's VIC number 1 that we had done before. And by the way, I did the same thing to the ports on that. I know it doesn't look completely original that way, but you know, I'd rather have that than have something short out and lose a precious old machine. So yeah, 2 good boards. So David, keep sending them. You send, I fix. Okay. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little video here. This one, we got lucky on another one. I mean, this is very unusual. I mean, the other CR that I did the other day, I had to replace a 6522 and the VIC chip. Okay, so that was on that one. So we had 2 chips, which is more run-of-the-mill of what we normally get. But to have these two machines and all the ICs work, it's really remarkable. And again, both of these machines are about 40 years old. This one may be a little younger, maybe 39. So yeah, but I can't say enough about these, you know, the 2-prong power VIC20s. I just find these to be a lot more reliable than the others. And another thing too, I joked about this getting really, really hot. If the machine is operating properly and there's not a lot of resistance, you know, with the ICs and that kind of a thing, it really is not super bad. You know, it gets warm. This is getting warm, but it's not awful. So, you know, I don't see replacing this with the solid state version at this point, because particularly on both of these, they get warm but not hot. I do have another VIC20 that got extremely hot, and I suspect I'm going to have to tear that one down and really find out, you know, why there's so much resistance in that board. This board, oh, unfortunately, yeah, I can't readily tell you what the amperage that it's drawing because it's just running off 12 volts, of course. So the CR, you know, I could tell you on the 5-volt rail what it was using, but we would have to measure it here. But it's looking good, all good, and congrats! Now you got 2 of them. So now you got to find 2 cases and keyboards. So if you enjoyed this little video, please watch for the next one. And thanks for watching. Take care.